welcome to Project Rallycross. This is going to be an introduction video about the car, a bit about its history, where the car was built, how the car was built, who it was built by, and hopefully a little video of it doing its stuff when it competed as a Rallycross car. About the car's a Mark 6 Ford Fiesta, I believe ST150 body shell, not 100%. It was purchased from Ford Direct and sent down to a man called Gordon Vincent, who owns his own fabrication company. He used to work for Borum Motorsport for the World Rally Programme, and when Borum shut their motorsport division and sold it off to M Sport, he purchased a lot of Escort Cosworth WRC jigs, like cradle jigs, car jigs. So he's still got the facility to basically make a WRC spec car fit any other car. So if you've got a Skoda Fabia body shell, for example, you could ship it down to him. He would mount it on the jig, alter all the suspension pickup points, build your rear cradles, depending on obviously what you want to use, and do a transmission tunnel, cage to spec, everything. So Gordon Vincent, I believe he runs his motorsport division as RV Fabrications, and his main business is ACS Fabrications, aluminium, copper and stainless. So he's a man to get in touch with. Bear in mind he is very expensive, but his work is, you know, top notch, and the man knows what he's doing. He's been in the motorsport game for probably 20, 30, 40, 50 years maybe. You know, I don't really know the bloke. I know he's quite old now, and he's took a step back, but his motorsport knowledge is unreal. I've spoke to him about the car and he was very helpful. So yeah, he's a man to get in contact with if you really want some. So with the fabrication side taken care of, the car engine wise run a Julian Godfrey 2 litre YB, running probably 650, 700 horsepower. You know, he's known as the main engine builder for Rallycross. Again, very expensive for an engine, but you get what you pay for. You know, these engines are running full chat for 5 or 6 laps at a time, and I mean, like, getting beasted, anti-lag and everything like that. So yeah, it run the YB engine, mounted to a 7.5 inch extra, maybe 8.5 inch extra front diff, a X-Track 6-speed sequential gearbox, and a Ford Motorsport 9-inch rear diff. It runs a tubular front cradle, tubular rear cradle, Escort Cosworth track control arms, custom made Escort Cosworth spec compression struts, full Riga suspension all the way around, WRC Escort Cosworth top mounts, front and rear WRC Escort Cosworth anti-roll bars, Escort Cosworth rear cradle, which I believe is the latest spec, which help with bump steering and stuff. It's got a full WRC cage inside, and basically that's it. There's not actually a lot to the car in terms of, you know, the spec wise and what it run. It was more to do with the fabrication side. I mean, the fabrication side, there's going to be lots of work, like in the front wheel wells, where they've had to cut them, extend them because of the turning and the bumps. Because obviously Rallycross, you know, is a very bumpy sport when you're on the dirt. The rear arches, as you can see, hang on, there, they've had to have the tunnel and the height of the turret extended slightly. The front turrets are fully custom made out of sheet metal. It's got WRC engine mount brackets. The bulkhead obviously has been modified to accept the larger tunnel to get the 6-speed sequential gearbox in. The rear floor, from what I can tell, apart from the rear wheel well, which has been plated over, is totally standard. Apart from the rear turret extensions. So the body shell, in terms of the fabrication, a lot of fabrication into it, but it doesn't look like it. It looks pretty much standard. You know, you wouldn't really tell apart from the tunnel. I mean, the tunnel is big, which we'll walk around the car in a bit. But obviously the cage is very extensive. In the rear of the car, it runs a rear radiator. You can't really tell now on the WRC quarters because they're brand new. But the old ones had a vent sort of cut in there, which allowed air to go in because it's got a rear mounted radiator. But obviously I might be doing that, I might not be doing it. I probably will keep the radiator in the boot, but Rallycross, it's a good idea because it moves the radiator around. You can suck air in and have it all enclosed off, which it is as well. It's all shrouded off. But the amount of shit that's got sucked up into that car over the years, I mean, I've cleaned it and cleaned it and cleaned it, and it's near enough pretty clean now. But like I said, that's the history of the car in terms of engine wise, suspension wise, wheel wise. They just run Group A wheels. You can have many different types of wheels. I've seen the car in lots of different wheels. You know, just 18-inch Group A fitment or WRC fitment to fit 14mm studs. But there's a lot of custom parts that go into the car, which is why the cost is so astronomical. Apparently it costs £160,000 to build the car. The YB from Julian Godfrey was £60,000. The X-Track gearbox was around about £40,000. The front diff is around £5,000–6,000. I know a Motorsport 9-inch rear diff is definitely around about £3,500 to £5,000, depending if you buy them second hand or new. Then you've got the rear cradle, which is about £2,500. The front cradle got made with the car. Then you've got compression struts, 500 quid. Track control lines, 500 quid. You've got Riga suspension. Now guys, I had a quote off Riga last year. They vary. For their 506 or 507 range, it goes from £5,000 for a set of 4, which are like what they use on the Mark 2, Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escort Cosworth. Not Escort Cosworth, sorry. Mark 1, Mark 2 Escorts for rally. Which are 3-way adjustable. Very similar. It's a very similar setup to the Escort Cosworth. And they're around about £5,000, which is not a bad price, to be fair, for Rigas. If you go to their Motorsport strut, which is what they recommended, it's starting from £10,500, and by the time you add your double bump steer, ball bearing, and all the rest of it, it comes just short of £26,000. Now, you know, unless you're sponsored and you're in motorsport, that's well out of my budget, and unfortunately I won't be using them. I will probably be using a 3-way either Riga 506, 507 strut or a ProFlex 3-way adjustable strut. So, you know, it can get very expensive. Well out of my budget. I purchased a car to build it to what I want, which is a track spec car, which is what it will be built to, but with a lot of WRC parts on it. So right, the history of the car. The history of the car in terms of where it's come from and who owned it. The owner was called Tommy Graham, Mr. Irish Rallycross. like I said, he purchased a car. He's in Ireland. He shipped it over to Gordon Vincent, had the work done. And then I believe it was taken to McNeil Motorsport in Ireland, who's a very good friend of Tommy's. I mean, Tommy's been racing since he was 20 in Fiestas, Mark II Escorts, Escort Cosworths. You know, he's quite a successful driver in terms of, maybe not as successful as he could have been, but with a bit more sponsorship. But he's yeah, he's very well known. So he purchased this car, had it built, took it to McNeil Motorsport. There's a bare shell. They started fitting all the stuff, and I believe they maintained the car and built the car to the spec that it was, that he needed for Rallycross. They're very well known in Ireland for WRC cars, Subarus I believe as well. So, you know, the man knows what he's doing. Now there was a few bits on the car that I was a bit suspect about, to say the least. But hey, who am I to say anything? It's competed in Rallycross for best part of 10 years, and nothing's sort of broke, so it's okay. But as a fabricator myself, I would have been maybe a little bit worried about it. Right, so Tommy owned the car in 2009 and 2010. He won the Division 1 Supercross, Supercar Rallycross Championship. So the car is very well known. A lot of people know it. It's a championship winning car. So some people might say, oh, you should have kept it as it is and this, that and the other, but it's just everything, unfortunately, the price of Cosworth, anything, you mention the name Cosworth and everything's gone up like, I don't know, 500-600 fold. Luckily, I bought a lot of stuff when you could buy it second hand for a reasonable price. And people broke cars. People are not breaking cars anymore because they're just too valuable. I mean, I nearly bought an Escort Cosworth WRC car for about 35,000 quid, maybe 6-7 years ago. Now they're worth 150,000-200,000 pounds. So, you know, the parts are becoming rarer, everything's becoming rarer. I mean, engines are rarer. I mean, people want £7,500 for a 40-year-old engine. It's just ridiculous. And I'm on about a standard engine. I'm not on about a 500 horsepower, forged pistons and rods. I'm on about a standard engine that's just been ripped out of a car. They want £7,500 for it. Well, I could get a Z-Tech Turbo built for £4,000 from E&L, who's my engine builder at Area 6 Developments. May I also add, top man. One of the best in the business, in my opinion. A great friend. So he'll always build my engines. The car was sold by Tommy Graham. I don't actually know when. Probably a good 5-6 years ago. Mark at MT Motorsport, he used to break WRC cars. He purchased the car, stripped down all the bits he wanted off it, like the gearbox and the engine and stuff, suspension. And I purchased the car off him. Now, Mark was saying he was really great bloke to deal with. Had to go up to Northumberland to pick it up. To look at it, sorry. And then I had it delivered for a few hundred quid by one of his friends. So, big shout out to Mark. Is a, you know, thing. It come freshly painted in the red paint that you see. Forget the white, because that's the new panels. And it looked mint. The main problem with the car was it's Rallycross car, so it's just had a hard life in terms of, you know, the shell's not knackered. It's been really well maintained. Apparently the car wanted for nothing, but it's just been bashed up. So even though it come with fresh paint, it looked mint in a photo that I'll show you right now. In fact, the car was battered. It was battered on the sills and stuff like that. It had been hit 20 times. I've got videos of it getting smashed up. So, you know, it needed quite a bit of work doing to it. And like I said, as I do fabrication and stuff, I've took it upon myself to fix it and remedy it, because it needed quite a bit of work doing to it for what I wanted to do anyway. With the car, I also got the motorsport logbook, so it's a genuine car. You know, there's no messing around, and that's what she looked like when Tommy Green used to race her, if you can see in the light. Very nice car, bit of a description about what it's got all the chassis numbers on it and stuff. So yeah, it's a nice piece of history to get with the car, and hopefully I'll do it a bit of justice and we'll get it back to that state. Right guys, let's just have a quick look around the car. As you can see, it's a pretty standardish body shell. The only thing that makes it stand out really is the body kit, which is a beaut. The first time I saw this style of car was the Ford Junior World Rally Concept, the silver one with the blue stickers on, and that made me want to build one, basically. Like I said, a fantastic looking car, really what I wanted, so hence why I purchased it. Now the body kit is made of carbon Kevlar fiberglass mix, so it's really strong. I've had these beefed up. The kit was supplied by MDV Specialist Engineering and Dave Fox. The rear quarters are Dave Fox, and basically he will build you any spec that you want. So I said to him, can you beef the rear quarter panels up? Because they were quite flexible. So he's added another layer of Kevlar, and now they're really, really strong. Really strong. So that should solve that problem. Like I said, they fit pretty much decent. There's not a lot of work that's going to need doing to him to fit him. It's not that hard to fit him. You have to, unfortunately, you have to cut the rear quarter off. So you have to lob it off across here and there, and then unpick it. But it's literally a bolt-on panel, so you could bolt it on and rivet it on. I mean, I'm going to, all these drill holes here, it's going to be a countersunk rivet and then filled over, so you won't even see it by the time it's done. Fiberglass door. As per Rallycross regulations, you have to run a metal door on the driver's side for protection, but passenger side you can run anything. Pretty much, they are quite strong, but it's just this top quarter here, like, really flex, and unfortunately you can see down the gap down there is not great. You can get your hand at it. So when he was going full chat, you know, you can see into the car. So that will probably be getting changed to a metal door. Because it's going to be a track car. Like I said, it's not going to be, they're trying to make it as light as possible. Mine's going to be a track car, so I still want it light, but it'll have all the door furniture stripped off and the polycarbonate windows put back in. The front kit is MDV Specialist Engineering. Again, very strong kit, not as thick as the Dave Fox ones, so I might be reinforcing them slightly myself. The front bumper comes all solid mounted. They do. I've cut them out, so I think it looks better. And down the rear vent there, look. So they'll have some meshing before they get painted. And the bottom ones ran all the way across the bottom to allow downforce, so it sucked it in underneath the car and pushed it out, pulled the front end down a bit. But I don't think you're going to really need that. Let me just stick the door up, we'll have a look at the front. This is an original Fiesta cross member which has been modified. That's the front bumper. So that's the Junior World Rally front bumper. Again, that's cut out. You haven't. These bits have been cut out. It's got a full carbon fibre splitter on it. And again on that side, as you can see, the sucks in the vent there. Yeah, that's just a standard grille, so it all fits on pretty well. They're custom made bolt bumper brackets. We'll go a bit more in depth into it when I show you around in the individual parts. Runs a standard Mark 6 bonnet. That's had the 4 vents cut out, as you can see in the underside, and aero clips on it. But my missus dropped the bonnet, so she knocked it over. Bless her. So you can see the nice dents in it. So unfortunately I'll be getting a new bonnet. Well, they're only about 60-70 quid anyway. It runs a WRC roof scoop, which has been blocked off. I think that might be because of the amount of shit that it was sucking in from other cars. It's still one of the best roof scoops I've seen. My missus bought me a carbon one, but I sold that on. So I might get the shell made in carbon fibre. I'm a bit unsure at the minute. I said standard metal door. And come back. Sorry guys, the garage is a bit small. It looks big, but it isn't. Not enough room. So it's got metal door, standard front window, wing mirrors. I'll get my words out in a minute. Standard rear quarter. That is a tailgate, fiberglass Kevlar tailgate. And as you can see, I've modified and cut that out. So let me just grab it. As you can see, I made a good job of that, if I don't say so myself. So that's going to have a mesh on it or some sort of framework put in it, and that's to allow, so the air went through the rear quarters there, behind the shrouded off area, and then straight out the tailgate. Let's just have a look at the back. That's a rear bumper. It's not on yet, not much to see really. That's the rear of the car. You see the framework there? That's where the radiator sits. It's got the uprated turret mounts and the cage. The cage is really extensive. That's a polycarbonate. It's a polycarbonate window, so all that bit is shrouded off to allow the air to go straight into the radiator. Then obviously it'll come straight out of the boot here. Pretty much standardish stuff. You know, it's been slightly modified down there for the wheel size. You've got the turret there. Let's go back round. Let's have a quick butchers at the cage. You can see the cage where it ties into the cradle underneath the car. So the cradle becomes part of the roll cage, which makes it very strong. So you've got a rear cross there going across to the window. You've got a front cross behind the seat, which then ties into the roof cross, which then ties down to the windows. You know, it's all gusseted and stuff. Work of art, mate. Gordon Vincent really does know his cars, and they can, I mean, just look at the cage. Let me show you some welding. It's fully TIG welded. You know, it's a nice bit of kit. And then as you can see, the size of the tunnel. I mean, I've had to modify the tunnel again, but you just get a gist of how big that tunnel is. Try and get, that's the car. So that's how much room you've got that side and that side. It's a massive tunnel, but you know, that's what the extract gearbox is like. It's a big old unit. I mean, the Cosworth MT75 is a big unit, but this is a bigger. That's a Mark 6 dash. That's the steering column with the Corsa B on it. So we'll just have a quick look around the car today. Because of we'll be doing some more in-depth videos That's the turrets that have all been custom built on the tubs, as you can see. Roll cage ties into that. Same this side. It all ties in, all TIG welded. Very nice bit of kit. Now the bulkhead, I've had to do this myself. So all that bulkhead there, going up across the back, across there where the inlet manifold is, down, all that's had to be cut, custom made, cut out, folded over around the back of the original tunnel. I mean, as you can see now, we've got plenty of room to get exhaust and stuff like that. That's the tubular front cradle, you can just see it down there. That's been modified, but like I said, we'll go into more in depth about what's been what. Lots of custom bits on this car I've made. I've been running a 2.1 ZTEC turbo. The engine, which is under that engine stand down there, that did 522 horsepower back in 2008. So it's a very old school engine. It needs updating, which it will be getting updated. New turbo, because it run a T61, which is a fantastic turbo, but it's just old basically. We want the best of what we can get. I'm looking for around about 650, which doesn't sound a lot, but on a track spec engine it is a lot. A drag engine is totally different to a track spec engine. Okay, they're built very similar, but you know, we're after reliability and lap after lap after lap of, you know, full power on standard straights and not just 10 seconds. So my engine builder is here now at Area 6 Developments. I met him, well, it would have been around about 2005, and a fantastic bloke to deal with. I mean, I met him when he was working out of his garage in his bungalow, and fantastic guy to know, fantastic guy to meet, and his knowledge is unreal. And I'm glad to say that we've become really good friends over the years, even though I've only seen him once in about 3-4 years. But yeah, we spend a lot of time. We spend a lot of time talking about engines and stuff, and like I said, I'm more interested in getting the project done at the minute and then the engine at a later date. So hopefully we'll get Ian involved and he can explain the spec a bit and about what's going on. But yeah, guys, that's generally the car. The bonnet, Mark 6 bonnet. Like I said, it's just got the vents cut out and stuff. Looks nice. Looks nice and wide. I'll just put it down. That's what it looks like from the front. It's a nice and wide car. That's it on that side. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Like I said, there's going to be more in-depth videos about, we'll talk about the engine, we'll talk about the suspension, we'll talk about what's been done to the car, why has it been done, but you get the general gist of it. Right guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. The next video will be a little bit more in depth into the metal work that's been carried out, why it's been carried out, and some modifications that have been carried out by me and why I've had to carry them out to get the car the way that I want it. So yeah, we're going to have a look at more like in depth about the metal work that's been done to the car, because you don't really tend to see it all. And like I said, it's a work of art. There's a lot of work involved. So if anyone's interested in terms of doing it themselves, or you know, I want to do this, I want to do that, there's a reason why that's been done by Gordon Vincent. So we'll look at that, and then yeah, it might help some of you out. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and hope to see you back again next time. Cheers. Thanks.